Hey VC. Alright, so the dog decided I was doing a two-parter. Worked out fine. I deleted some stuff off my phone. I have a little bit more time to finish this video. So almost done with the stuff that I found at Freakbeat. But I saved the best for last, at least as far as I'm concerned. This was in the new section, but it is not a new record. This is a promo copy of the Smiths' Rank to US pressing on Sire. This is one of the Smiths records that I was missing. Of course, a live record. It's a fantastic gatefold photo of a bunch of boys fighting over Morrissey's blouse, I think, which is such a perfect image for the Smiths. I believe this is all one show. It certainly sounds like it. It feels like it, which is good as, you know, that's the point. The Queen is Dead, Panic, Vicar in a Tutu, Ask, Rush Home Ruffians, The Boy with a Thorn in His Side, What She Said, just on and on. It's great. It's a fantastic record. It brought me back to when I first started listening to the Smiths and kind of first met my friend Manny was one of the first big Smiths fans that I met. He still had the Morrissey pompadour and sideburns, and all the bands that I was into idolized the Smiths, and so it was this really... Anyway, he pointed me in the direction of Rank, and I listened to it for the first time when I was younger, kind of 18, 19, and just a great record. You know, most of the music that I wanted to listen to when I was in my late teens and early 20s doesn't hold up, you know, but the Smiths just keep doing it for me. I love it. I love Morrissey, you know, Johnny Marr. It's, what more could you want? It's the Smiths. But I know I've mentioned before that sometimes I worry about finishing my collections, but I wasn't too worried. So then after Freakbeat, we went and we got some food. We had some great conversation. You know, and that's one of the best things about getting to meet up with Andrew is he's as interesting to talk to about anything as he is about records. And we just have a lot in common. We have a lot to talk about. Conversation was great. And like he said, you know, we both have the sickness. We both understand the symptoms. So it was fun to do that together. We went to Amoeba. We pretty much went straight to the back room and started looking up at the wall. And this is actually my first Amoeba. Well, I've gotten wall records from behind the counter, and I've gotten wall records from on the stage, but I've never gotten an actual wall record from the wall where they bring a giant pole with a hook and they have to pull a whole plywood thing down. But one of the first things I saw when I looked up was Jimmy Carter, Dallas County Green, Summer Brings the Sunshine. This is a Numero Group reissue of, I believe, a private press record. And I'd heard a good amount of hype about it. I mean, you know, Numero Group is good at hyping their own stuff. This is part of their Project 12, though. So they only pressed 1,000, and you can only get it if you're a subscriber of their Project 12 club, which I'm not. I like Numero Group, but I like what I like, and I can leave what I can leave. But I had sampled this, and I thought it was really great. And so, you know, I just kind of added it to the want list on Discogs, and I saw the kind of prices it went for, and it was considerable. Really considerable. And Amoeba had a very down-to-earth price on it. Ironic, because it was up on the wall, off the ground. Anyway, this is pretty great. I don't know much about Jimmy Carter, but from what I can tell, he gathered local session musicians and local amateurs, and just kind of had a knack for putting a band together. And his songwriting is fine, but it's really the playing and the quality of the musicianship on this that's really, really what shines. It's really fantastic. It's kind of, it's I think the dream of a private press record. You know, that you're gonna find this lost masterpiece. And I think, you know, a lot of that music doesn't tend to live up to the hype for me. I think the rarity exceeds the quality 75% of the time. This is not one of those instances. No, this is not like, I don't think it's like it's a crime that people aren't listening to this and listing it alongside Townes Van Zandt. And, you know, it's not that, but it's, if you like country music and if you can get your hands on a reasonably priced copy of this, I think also it's definitely a case where the prices are absurdly inflated. If there's a vinyl bubble, these are the types of prices, I think, that are going to tank. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, I was thrilled to pick this up. Jimmy Carter, Dallas County Green. Sample it online. I think it's available. Really cool stuff. This one, talk about the sickness. I had to really pretend I wasn't suffering. Andrew picked this up out of the bins. Blind Boy Fuller, Trucking My Blues Away. This is Yazoo 1060 with an R. Crumb cover. And I was missing it. And it's you know, it's a desirable one. It's one I want. It's later period, but it's got, you know, those R. Crumb covers. They're all desirable. And Andrew was looking at it and kind of deciding, and he very, very generously said, you know, you're going to enjoy this more, and handed it over to me, which was really cool of him. I haven't actually listened to this one yet, but I love my Yazoo comps. They get a lot of play. It's probably my main obsession. And, you know, Crumb is the artist that got me into it, and, you know, I can't get it to focus, but his passion for the music, I think, is evident in his artwork. There's a softer, sweeter side, a caring, loving side of him that comes out in his artwork. There's also an exploitive, you know, everything that Crumb is known for. This is an interesting reinterpretation of the Keep on Truckin' image. Anyway, we're not talking about Crumb, we're talking about records. But, sorry, just turn off the AC there. Anyway, I was thrilled to get that. Thanks again, Andrew, for passing that one my way. That was very cool of you. So hanging out in Amoeba in the jazz section, what is usually a disappointing check of the Bill Frisell section turned up a nice used copy of Guitar in the Space Age. Now, I'm aware that there is a lot of contention around Bill Frisell's career and what he should be doing and what he is doing. I don't understand really or participate in much of that at all. I think people thought he was more interesting when he was younger, and now he's not. I don't care. I love his accessible reinterpretations of pop songs, and, you know, this is Pipeline, Turn, 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 Surfer Girl, Rumble, Tired of Waiting for You, Liftoff, Telstar, the Ventures song. You know, it's Bill Frisell, I think, engaging with the music that probably made him want to be a guitar player. And for me, you can really hear that love and passion and the ease of familiarity with the music. And this is just a great record. I've spun it multiple times. I'm very happy to have it. Also, for a music on vinyl, which, you know, I've heard digital sources and all the audiophiles don't love everything they put out. It sounds incredible. Great range. I really, really have been happy with it. This is another pickup. This was one that I was particularly hoping to find when we went to Amoeba. The new Milk Carton Kids. It's called All the Things That I Did and All the Things That I Didn't Do. If you're not familiar with the Milk Carton Kids, they are an incredible band. It's what are their names? Joe and Kenneth, I think. Joe, Kenneth, and most of their albums all of their albums up until this point have been the two of them with their two vintage guitars and their two voices. There are some Simon and Garfunkel comparisons, but I think Dave Rawlings, Gillian Welch is a much closer, more accurate comparison. But this is their first foray into, you know, not their first studio album, but you know, the full band, the full studio experience. I believe they recorded at Capitol. I think Jay Bellarose played drums on this. He's a great drummer who you may have seen his work in the new Basement Tapes, Lost on the River documentary that Showtime did. When I first sampled the first song they put out from this, I didn't know that I was going to like the new direction. I was wrong. It's fantastic. I love it. It's great. They're growing with maturity and vision and you know, assured steps, exactly how you want a band to be growing. If you already know the Milk Carton Kids, I recommend you follow them here. If you don't know the Milk Carton Kids, you can enter almost anywhere. All of their albums basically are masterpieces. I would, if you're getting familiar with them, check this out and check out one of the older records just to get a better idea of The Ash and the Clay, maybe. But I could sing the praises of this band night and day. Beautiful songwriting, gorgeous voices, virtuosic guitar playing, particularly from Kenneth. But that only covers up the incredibly accomplished rhythm playing of, I want to say Joe. I'm sorry, I don't know his name. Their voices blend and they switch like almost like Louvin Brothers. They don't sound like the Louvin Brothers, but they have that level of connectivity. Or the Everly Brothers, the ability to, when one's high and one's low, and then they switch for a verse, and you lose track of whose voice is whose. There's not as much of that on this new album. They're really exploring new territory, but when they use it now, it's like this powerful new tool in their arsenal. Even though it's the oldest trick in their book, they've kind of reinvented it, recontextualized it, and yeah, can't say enough about that band. A few quick little impulse grabs here at Amoeba. These are really cheap. This is Lavender Diamonds, the Cavalry of Light EP. I may have a copy of this on the East Coast. With beautiful cover illustrations by Ron Reggie Jr., who is not only a great kind of indie comic artist, but the drummer of this band. And Lavender Diamond I became familiar with because of their association with the Decemberists. They opened for them back in the day, once when I saw them. And then the lead singer, Becky Stark, provided vocals on the Hazards of Love. So if you saw the Decemberists for the Hazards of Love tour, you have seen Becky Stark. They're related to the freak folk movement of the early 2000s. You know, if Devendra Banhart is one extreme and Mumford & Sons is the other extreme, one day I'll have to get into how Mumford & Sons' arrival killed the part of the freak folk movement that I was interested in. Fleet Foxes was the last great band of the movement, then Mumford & Sons killed the whole thing. Anyway, they're in an interesting in-between. It's really easy to digest, really simple. Most of the time, a lot of their songs is one phrase repeated over and over. And they kind of just chant and build, and I don't know, it lends it kind of a timeless quality, even though they're newer songs. You don't necessarily get the sense that they're trying to be like throwbacky or anything. It's interesting. It's not for everybody, but I really dig it. So, for a few bucks, I was happy to grab it. Panda Bear Bros. This is a 12-inch single. Panda Bear, one of the main artists in Animal Collective. All the artists in Animal Collective are main artists. But this is a single off of his album. Why can't I think of the name? Something Pitch. His 2006 album, where he split from Animal Collective and started his solo career. It's like a 12-minute track. If you took the sound of Pet Sounds, this is going to sound like overhyping, I know, but if you take the sound of Pet Sounds and turn it into kind of a weird indie folky electronica band, that's Panda Bear. That's Animal Collective. So this was a few bucks and I was happy to grab it. I'm not always into getting like 12-inch singles and stuff, but when it feels like the complete discography is achievable, it's always fun. There's a remix on the B-side I haven't listened to. This was a great grab. Comets on Fire, out on Sub Pop 2004. Andrew recommended this. It's exactly the period that I'm really interested in. I love early 2000s music. I think it was an incredibly fertile time for independent music. But I missed them. And I remember looking at Sub Pop at the time and being like, knowing there were all these bands that I wasn't getting to know, that their catalog was just too deep, their bench. But Andrew saw this immediately handed it over to me. It was very cheap. It was like $5 for this record. But I listened to this the other day, and I had to text Andrew. Just, it was so good. It's like really great psyche. Again, I you know, not to oversell it, but it's kind of somewhere between Booker T and the MGs and the Stooges in a way, in the feeling. When it first started playing, I really thought it was going to be a certain type of alternative almost rock, but it really moves and changes, and the songs play beautifully one into the next. It's a great album listen. Almost wordless, but there's some vocalizing. But it might as well just be another instrument. It's not really, the words are not the point, I don't think. Really recommend this. Comets on Fire. And thank you, Andrew. This is a great recommendation. All right, down to the end here. One of the last things I picked up at Amoeba is a record I've been wanting for a long, long time. And it is Sleep's Dope Smoker. An epic, incredible sludge metal. Yeah, I mean, Dope Smoker. Again, it's a very appropriate title. There's this great detail here on the inner sleeve of this written on cardboard in Sharpie, kind of pasted on the wall. The breakdown of all of the riffs and the amount of times they need to be repeated. It's mind-boggling just to create this song. It's unbelievable. I believe, yeah, so Dope Smoker is 1 hour and 3 minutes. And then there are 2 live tracks on the D side, which I think is just kind of a bonus for the vinyl release. This has been pressed and repressed a number of times. There's a lot of colored variants. This is a black pressing, which whenever there are too many colored variants available, that is always what I would prefer. So I was really happy to get that. And the prices swing wildly on this album, so happy to get it for just like kind of a normal price. And so at Amoeba, I done a little work for a buddy, and he was like, you know, what do I owe you? And I didn't want to ask for too much, so I was like, just get me a gift card to Amoeba. So I had a gift card waiting for me behind the counter. And before we went up to check out, I saw something on the wall behind the counter, and I started telling Andrew about how when I was younger, I was shopping at Vintage Vinyl in New Jersey, which was my my go-to shop. An amazing shop. If anybody's ever in like the Woodbridge, Menlo Park area, Islin, Edison, if you're ever in that area of New Jersey, stop by Vintage Vinyl. It's right between the Woodbridge Mall and the Menlo Park Mall. It's an amazing record store, and it's only gotten better with the vinyl revival. But when I was younger, their used section was all dollar bin. Like literally, it was just anything you wanted for $1. And then new records were like $10, $12, sometimes $15. So I would load up on new indie releases, and then I would go raid the dollar bin for, you know, to pad out my collection. And one time I had a copy of The Replacements' Let It Be, and I was going to pick it up because I had seen that Colin Malloy from the Decemberists, who I'm a huge fan of, had written this 33 1/3 book about the album, which Brendan, my friend Morrissey, recently showed. And it was $5, which was a lot for the used section, and I put it back to save money so I could get, you know, some other new thing that I don't even remember. And it's haunted me ever since. And I really have had a bone to pick about it. And I've avoided listening to the album because I was so determined now to either find another deal or get a perfect copy. And there was one sitting up there on the wall at Amoeba. And Andrew was encouraging me to get it. And it was 10 times more than what I had put it down for 10 years ago, of course. Because that's what this record goes for. But Andrew was great. He was like, that's a good price. You should get that. And it was like almost like a concerned friend, you know? And so when I got to the counter and I got my gift card, it was a little more generous than I thought it was going to be. So I snagged this, and I'm just so thrilled that I did. It's a beautiful, excuse me, minty copy on twin tone. And you know, that hole is now filled, and I finally have a copy of Let It Be. I finally allowed myself to listen to it. I Will Dare turns out to be one of the songs. There's a number of songs that my older brother used to listen to that were kind of punk adjacent that I love, that I don't know the names of. I just know the sound. I Will Dare is one of those songs. So I was happy to be reunited with that. This was a great kind of real grail. Not necessarily in, like, I know you can just go on Discogs and buy one, but it took me so long to track this down. It was such a big part of my collecting story. This is really, truly a grail for me. Thrilled to get it. Thrilled to have Andrew there. I mean, it was perfect to have Andrew there kind of coaxing me into it. It kind of perfectly encapsulates what I love about digging with Andrew. And as Andrew said, I feel really lucky to have been able to meet him through the VC, to be able to get together and do these meetups. It's been a real treat. Taking one more cue from Andrew, I might as well show you these. Just because we had an insane dig, which took months to save for, and doesn't mean that I didn't do a little bit of extra shopping immediately surrounding it. You know, you can't say no to certain things. So this came from Atomic about a week before we met up. This is a beautiful, if not very first, no, it's the first U.S. pressing. It's the first U.S. pressing. Factus 1, Factory Records, Joy Division, Unknown Pleasures. A record I've only had a repress of. And, you know, just an absolute classic. And not easy to find. You know, you just don't see these. And it's a beautiful collector's piece, and I'm thrilled to have this. I passed my chance to get an equally beautiful copy of Closer, and now regret it. But what can you do? Another Atomic grab, also of the Too Good to Pass, although this one took a good bit of hemming and hawing. I just ended up putting back everything else and getting this. This is a promo copy of the Velvet Underground, Loaded. I believe I saw Matt Sands show one of these a year or so ago as one of his top 10 pickups of the year. And I remember specifically being like, and he found a promo. Like, I'll never get that lucky. And I don't think I got as lucky as Matt got. I think he got a much better deal than I did. But it's, you know, I mean, it's a white label promo, Velvet Underground. There happens to also be an unpeeled banana, a mono unpeeled banana sitting on the wall. But it's $400 and I'll never be able to afford it. So this is as close as I'm going to get, I think, to Velvet Underground original pressing glory. And, you know, I mean, I'm sure for some of you this is true too. When you first get into record collecting, for me anyway, the Velvet Underground was like the first record collector's band. You know, it was the first big band that you kind of had to get into if you were going to be taking this deep dive into music. There's the old adage that they sold 100 or 1,000 copies, or 10,000 copies, but that everybody who bought a copy started their own band, which is probably, like, you know, factually totally untrue. And then, but it so beautifully, I think, encapsulates the influence that the Velvet Underground has had on music writ large. They're the other Beatles. They just are the underground Beatles. And anyway, real quick, because I'm really running out of time. Here's another one. I had to go back to Freakbeat for this because I saw it pop up on my Discogs want list, and it was from Freakbeat, and I was like, I know where that is. And you don't see this very often. This is Frank Fairfield. It's out on Tompkins Square. This is his debut album from 2009. Frank Fairfield is a phenomenal modern folk singer, but you wouldn't know if you just heard his recordings. You could be forgiven for thinking he was recorded in the 50s even, or even earlier. It manages to be throwbacky without being obnoxious, which is a tough trick to pull off, but I think he really does. I was introduced to him through the American Epic documentary, which is highly, highly recommended if anybody hasn't seen it. But thrilled to get this. Been on my want list for a while. These just don't show up. And then I got a deal for picking it up in person, which was great. And while I was there, I found another grail. A record I've been looking for a very long time. I posted this on the Facebook page. Tom Waits Swordfish Trombones. This is a stock label promo. First pressing. Got the promo sticker, the promo stamp, and then this other. I couldn't find any association for that top number on Discogs, but it just gives it that extra promo flavor. Now, unfortunately, it's in beautiful condition. Beautiful VG Plus condition. It's not a near mint, but it's a nice VG Plus. The A side is a little crackly. My theory is, since so much of the B side is so wonderful, that it got played on. The B side is what got played, and the A side got put face down in the dirt. There's also, I think it's Johnsburg, Illinois, is an instrumental track, which is a little challenging, and it popped all the way through. And I've heard Roger Coleman before say, sometimes it sounded like somebody couldn't make it through the second track, and there's pops and clicks because they kept lifting the needle, and that's what it sounded like was happening here. 20 attempts, and none of them had ever managed to get through the song. But all of that doesn't matter, because the music shines right through. It's such an incredible album, and I'm so thrilled to have it. This was really the missing piece in my Tom Waits collection, and I've been very fortunate with my Tom Waits collection and at Atomic to basically fill it out mostly with originals. So it's a little obnoxious maybe to be always going for original presses when so many reissues are freely available, but I was really happy to get this one. I've got more to show you guys, but it's all from separate digs. I just wanted to make sure I got that big combined haul with Andrew up there. As Andrew said, it's a total treat. It's really a privilege to call him a friend. He's, digging with Andrew is every bit as rewarding and exciting and fun and interesting and edifying as you think it might be. It's just a real pleasure. I'm hoping that we get to do it again. Hope we get to do kind of a larger local VC thing. I can't thank Andrew enough, and really appreciate everybody stopping by to check it out. And I'm almost at the end of my time here, and thank you guys. I feel like I should say something more. I guess there's nothing more to say. Thank you all for checking it out, and I'll see you soon.